If you look through my videos on YouTube, you'll see that through June and July, I, among other things, was tracking violent streaming child pornography that was in the background. See, at the beginning of the year, Texas implemented some legal changes concerning confidentiality, things that hadn't previously been confidential. And last autumn, after September 1st, it started building up towards September 1st and then onward. There was massive, massive pornography going through private residences, at least the one I've been in, during the school day. And really, like as the school bus would go down the street to pick up children, there'd be massive pornography. Some people might think, oh, it's not really pornography, it's erotic. Point of matter is, it's inappropriate. But then when they implemented these changes at the beginning of the school year, or at the beginning of the calendar year, something in my visual stream wasn't able to see it. But I can see it if I try to. And it's changed. And I know on other manners, even without the visuals, it's still there. It's part of one of the reasons why I use the F word so much. And when I'm on a current where there's massive child porn running, something unconsciously identifies it and is irritated, and I say fuck a lot. I was tracking how through the Supreme Court of Texas there was all of this activity happening with the case law. I'd seen it before in November, right before the OPEC Plus conference and other factors that were ongoing in other parts of the world. All the case law, all the cases on the Supreme Court state, they disappear. And what I believe they were doing is they were using it as collateral on some sort of loan or finance deal. It was off site for a period of time, at least a week. When it came back up, the cases that they were receiving in the court were different. There was a disproportionate representation of cases that were allegedly about prosecuting child sex predators. But there had just been months of massive, massive child pornography. And the specific cases and the dates of the cases and the other aspects of the case were absolutely 100% premeditated. And as they're bringing that case law back up, there is an announcement about conservative women who are going to be political candidates in the upcoming election. At that time, there were several notices where allegedly conservative women, candidates, some of whom themselves were attorneys. Not so ironically, in this case law situation, this case situation at the Texas Supreme Court, at least two major cases involve female prosecutors from Dallas. They were talking about how they had to go after child sex predators. And I was concerned. And I was actually very angry because their political careers were at that moment being financed by streaming child pornography. That was also going on concurrent to a variety of changes in the gas and oil sector, including whatever they think they're doing with this so-called particular program that's got a variety of people involved, and also connected to other processes associated with things going on in Texas, including conferences that were going on that were supposed to be on site in Texas that were part of long term situations as well. Now we're at the post election period, and I believe that now it would seem somebody was doing what I had alleged was happening in the state of Texas. That people were using simulation of military legal process in civilian cases as a way to create pseudo military operations via the civilian legal system. And the problem is that when you do that, you're doing it outside of a military command structure, which means you have a different kind of accountability. And by and large, it involves civilians. In the cases I was trying to report, it involved an immigrant mother and her two children who were born in the United States being trafficked for Social Security and pension fraud by a law firm whose principal wrote the damn fucking manual on probate law in Texas. Possession of the body of the child. There's absolutely nothing acceptable about this. There's nothing professional about this. Now, the Supreme Court of Texas made the decision it made, even though, even under the laws of Texas, jurisdiction for court martial is the Supreme Court of Texas until officially referred. This is the law in the book. Would somebody else potentially argue with the constitutionality of that law? Well, I've argued with the constitutionality of a variety of alleged laws in Texas, including ones that have been alleged to be put into effect since that time frame. Did somebody in March through May of 2010 do a simulation of military legal process involving cases associated with sexual misconduct of members of the military, associated with my identity, or underwritten into what was supposed to be connected with my alleged treatment as a derivative action or in some manner connected to what was happening with that case in Southern California about that woman who was put on death row after she had sexually abused and murdered a girl child. Did they do this in conjunction with what else was going on associated with efforts to allocate or acquire mineral leases in Afghanistan? See, I think I found what could potentially be a case that may have been used when I got my civil service job, so that my process of trying to apply for the civil service position in San Francisco was embedded with sabotage associated with a misrepresentation or misplacement of a military legal case into a non-military proceeding. It would make sense insofar as there were also allegations that around that time the FBI database, employee database, had been hacked and that vital information about employees of the FBI had been made available to others. It may also explain the conflicts associated with public notices as well as floor speeches in the Congress and the Senate that correlated with me needing to leave my job and experiencing acts of physical violence in the form of things that resulted in me needing a specific kind of physical medical treatment. It was also part of an outlay process anticipating I would need joint replacements that I haven't gotten and won't get. The worst part about this is when I was 17, they involved me in what I later understood was a simulation of military legal process aboard an actual military base where I was a female prosecutor named Charity. Did they start coding child pornography associated with abuse of military legal process into my background when I was 17 years old? And do other illustrious women in law know? Is that why you guys wanted the Women's Center? Is that why you were allowed to go to law school? Is that why you were allowed to be barred? Is that why you were allowed to go to Congress? Is that why you think that you know what kind of a woman should be in the presidency or an executive position? Did you literally agree to conspire to back in code the backgrounds of allegedly professional women with violent child pornography as compensation? A fielding mechanism? Some form of SCSI defense? Do you even know why? Or were you just under orders? I would never take an order from anybody that knowingly and consciously did that. And if you tried to order somebody else to do that, I would have you convicted of attempting to recruit for organized criminal activity with the aim of undermining the government.